So we're going to be making a sugar tong splint right now. What I just ended up doing is I just measured my patient's arm. The sugar tong splint, if you pretend this is the fiberglass, it would normally look like this. So I just grabbed the web roll to be able to measure it, and then you can measure it towards your ortho glass you'll be using. And then you'll just have to kind of assess what size width you'll want for your patient. My patient's arm is a lot larger, so I'm using a 4-inch right here. Key thing with ortho glass is once you cut it, you do want to put the clip back on because they will harden over time. Okay, so again, we're doing a sugar tong splint, kind of the same material as any other cast. You want stockinette, you want some rubber roll. So I'll have you bring your arm like this, again like your arm wrestling, and I'll have our thumb sock, and then I don't need glove for this part, and then arm part. And you want the stockinette to be a little bit longer just because of how the splint will look, but we can explain that in a little bit later. Cut that. I'm going to put the scissors.
You just have to
Yeah, more and so I just trim a little bit at the anacular fossa. Looking at little dog ears like that, just put it down. Okay. So like any other cast, the splint also starts with a base layer of web roll. You just again start at the wrists. You always want to roll away like this and just work your way up again. And for pieces that you don't need, just go ahead and tear them away like that. It's much easier. And again, typically want to go to the MCPs. And just work your way down. Again, you want to add as much tension as you can to this portion, just because if it does end up ripping, that's okay. This means it was a little too tight, but that is good. And if it gets smaller, again, just toss it and start anew. And then at this point, I'll do a little figure 8, and so I'll go across this way, come back, and then tear a little bit, just so you don't want too much at the fossa, and then catch underneath. Okay. So sometimes in your wrapping you'll have these little flaps like that. You can just pull it a little bit and lay it flat. Alright, so that's the first portion. I'll still add some bumpers just because the ortho glass can be a little bit uncomfortable because it's still fiberglass. And so I'll add some at the MCPs, and then again at the webbing. And then down at the bottom of the elbow. So that's the first portion of the splint's done. This is the first layer, and then the second layer, I'll bring the camera over here, and then we'll see the ortho glass here. So Ortho glass, again, normally comes in these types of bags. You would want some gloves because the chemicals on the Ortho glass are very sticky and will stain clothes as well. So the thing with Ortho glass is as soon as you cut it, air will start to harden the material. And this one's a little bit hard already on this end. Key thing with Ortho glass, again, it's fiberglass wrapped inside some cotton padding. What I normally do is I usually try to trim a little bit of the Ortho glass, just because that's the part that's going to be kind of hitting each of the different portions of the hand to make it a little bit more comfortable. And so I'll just kind of make a rounded edge here and then pull the cotton here just so it's covered. And I do that to both sides. Okay. And so after that's done, it's almost ready. You just need to wet it in the sink. You want the fiberglass material to actually get wet because that's what's going to start hardening the process, or start the hardening process. And you're going to want to wring it out as much as you can. You should get a towel. You should have a larger towel. Do you have a larger towel in here? No, we don't. Okay. So, kind of just start wringing it out in the towel. Do portion by portion. Just so the material isn't too wet when you are actually utilizing it. And you do have some time before the material fully hardens. Okay. Alright, so for this portion, things you will need are some more web roll, some ace wrap, and then your fiberglass stuff, your Ortho glass. So with the sugar tong, it literally is a tong kind of around the arm, and so you want to keep it pretty even. And so you have the patient place their elbow straight onto the material and then kind of pinch it this way. For this one, it is a little bit long, so I will trim it a little bit more. And this is all for comfort for the patient, at least. Okay. So, fiberglass is underneath the portion that will be touching the patient where our bumpers are. That's good. At this point, I just grabbed some more web roll, and this too. You don't need to do anything fancy with the web roll at this point. You're just trying to keep the Ortho glass in place. At that point, you can grab your A-strap and start wrapping. So again, you're just using this outside Weber to keep it in place while you're doing this. And at this point, it's kind of like wrapping a cast again. So just to capture everything up here. Sorry, forgot one portion. Okay, now you can start wrapping. And just try to catch all the edges of the stockinette. At this point, you just want to kind of again, this is a splint and not a cast, so they're just in this until they can get to orthopedics or neuroso where they'll put the cast on. So just trying to keep their break in line, basically. So just trying to round the edges of your fiberglass around their arm for the most part here. And just be careful around the elbow. The fiberglass I used here is folding a little bit around his olecranon, so just trying to spray it out here so it's not too uncomfortable. And that's pretty much a kind of quick and dirty sugar tong right here. It's gonna help kind of prevent them also from flexing and extending from their elbow, but also just kind of keep them in place there. Again, this is usually for like initial injury before they get to see ortho. Kind of just keep any fracture in place until they can get into an actual cast. Work.